Hello, everybody listening. I'm your host, Will Margulis, and I would like to welcome you to episode 0 of the Off Court Podcast. Let's jump right into it. Today, the NBA and the sports world at large faces a unique challenge. The prominence of social media allows players to interact with their fans in a more personal way than ever before. However, the era of connectivity comes with questions that are difficult to answer. Should players speak out about political issues or should they not? Should players be candid in their responses to the media or should they be professional? Should players be allowed to express their emotions on the court or should they save it for when they get home? Every person who watches sports is going to have different answers to each of these, but I believe that the sports world at large, and especially the media, focuses too much on these narratives. One positive change that the media has made in the past year or so is the willingness to give players a platform to talk about mental health. But on the road to looking at players as people, considering mental health is just one step. It is just as important to consider a player's family, their community, their hobbies, and their passions outside of the game. For instance, let's take LeBron James. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the sport. I mean, we all know this. He's won 3 championships, scoring titles. He's on his way to an assist title right now. He's got one of the most versatile games that the NBA has ever seen. He's one of the best finishers of all time. His athleticism is off the charts still at age 35. He's one of the most exciting, revolutionary players the league has ever seen. But, even though he's so exposed to the media as well, I mean, he built a school. He has a crazy amount of followers on Instagram and Twitter, and he gets airtime anytime he wants. Even his family, his sons are on TikTok just like any other kids are. And they have millions of followers as well, but we still don't really know much about LeBron as a person. What's his favorite video game? What restaurant does his family like to go to the most? We don't know these things. Let's take Michael Jordan. He is regarded as also one of the greatest players of all time. He's got 6 championships, scoring titles, averaged 37 points in a season once. He's one of the greatest players ever. He's got one of the greatest fadeaways ever. He's an all-NBA defender so many times. And what do we really know about him other than that? He likes to gamble. He likes to play golf. I mean, that's really about it. He's rich. We don't really know about his relationship with his sons, how his greatness affected their basketball careers and the expectations that were put on them, how those expectations impacted his relationship with them, what he thinks about today's political climate. I mean, we don't really know these things. We don't know what his favorite food is. Let's take Kevin Durant. He's one of the greatest players playing in the NBA today. He's got one of the best offensive arsenals the NBA has ever seen. His jump shot reaches over 10 feet into the air. He's one of the most ridiculously good players, exciting players that we've ever seen in this league. He's won 2 championships. He's fallen no short of greatness every time he steps on the court. But what do we know him for? We know him for his ghost account on Twitter. We know him for switching teams after falling with a 3-1 lead in a playoff series and switching teams to the team that beat him in that playoff series. That's really all we know him for. I mean, we don't know him for what his favorite part of the Bay is. We don't know him by the countless songs he's made with other NBA players. I mean, he's got whole albums of material that we've never heard. We haven't really seen that side of him. I think the only track that's been released has been the one with LeBron from the mid-2000s lockout. And, I mean, it's not much. We don't really get that insight from one track. And that brings me to my next point, which is narratives. Now, narratives serve their purpose, of course, but one thing that I think really is to the detriment of narratives is how people take those narratives and put them onto players over social media, in real life, etc. One of the things that inspired me to start this podcast was looking at Kevin Durant's Instagram comments, and I think he's turned them off now, but looking at pictures with him in it, just with him tagged in it, and you'll go to the comment section and you'll see just a bunch of comments with the snake emoji, calling him a snake, calling him names, using vulgarity at him. And I don't think it's a problem of people using social media and hiding behind that veil of social media. I think it's more a problem of we don't really look at these people as people because we don't know them as people. We know them as players. So that's what I intend to do with this podcast. My hope is that by the time I'm finished with this, we'll call basketball players people who play basketball. So if you'd like to join me in getting there, tune into the next episode.